And aura.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. We are super excited to be here together today for HomoGalactus. It's our official kickoff call. And I'm Denise Moreno, and here is my father, Rico Moreno. And Rico did explain several weeks ago that he's in the process of writing a book called HomoGalactus. And I came up with the idea of, well, why don't we jump on the YouTube platform to not only promote your book, but as you can see, he's got many books behind him. Also give him a platform to be able to talk about all of the different spiritual paths and journeys that he's tripped over or tripped down over the last, several decades. It's been most of his life, right? So
Since I've been 30.
okay. So I just thought it would be really cool to get together and have a chat and see what kind of individuals out there that might be interested in the metaphysical conversations that we have together, and what Rico has to say about the many different philosophies and religions that he's studied upon or engaged in over what, probably 40 something years.
50. Started at 30. Let me change my glasses so I look a little more sophisticated. Oh, all right, got it. Well,
Like
the thought of Homo galactus, let's start with that. We all are familiar with the term Homo erectus, which transitioned, they were before Homo sapiens. So there's been a lot of talk in the recent years about, are we just earthbound orientation entities? And of course, we're talking about extraterrestrials, UFOs, near-body experiences, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of conversation about that. So I said, well, why should we limit ourselves to the concept that we're just earthbound entities? And one of the ways to open that door would be to give us a different name. How about Homo galactus? And the idea is that if you picture yourself as a epigalactic consciousness inhabiting a body on a planet, in this case, Earth, then you have a different point of view than if you would be earthbound. And let's take an example in similitude. You as an individual get inside your car and you drive around the planet. Are you a car or are you a driver? Therefore, Homo galactus says that you are a driver, an epigalactic, pandimensional, joyously transcendent consciousness that is inhabiting a body for a specific purpose. And the specific purpose is enlightenment. You want to be able to experience all that you can be here, because if you can't do it here, I hate to say it, it's probably difficult to do it anyplace else. That's why we got 8 billion people on the planet now, all here because this is the turning point. This is the photon belt in our precession of our planet through its orbit, 26,000-year orbit around the central sun. We're going through different kinds of energies, and at this particular point in time, the galactic pull is calling this a neutron belt. So we have new energies that are exposed to us that we didn't have before. Of course, people who don't believe in this, they say, "Hey, where's your scientific evidence for this one?" There's no scientific evidence for something that is beyond earthbound consciousness. I mean, scientific means you can touch it, taste it, dissect it, make a theory on it, and reproduce it. We're not talking about earthbound.
Or explain it mathematically.
We're explain it mathematically. You can't do any of that. We're talking about a different level of consciousness. It's like asking your car to describe the driver. The car cannot describe the driver. It will only, as a matter of fact, it took this thing, and I asked, just by way of introduction, I asked OpenAI ChatGPT. I had asked it several other things and so on. But here's one that I asked it. I said, what are your thoughts on the evolution of human consciousness from Homo sapiens, which is a survival-oriented consciousness, to Homo galactus, which is the concept that humans are quantum energy beings of light, able to incarnate into a variety of biological embodiments, which include other planets. Why should we be restricted to Earth? So it came back, and this is short, but this is amazing what it came back with. As an AI language model, I don't have a personal opinion or thoughts. So right away, you know that it can't go and make up something that it hasn't already scanned. But I'll continue. The concept of human evolution from Homo sapiens to Homo galactus is not a scientifically recognized theory. Naturally, I made the word up. How could it be scientifically recognized? And the idea that humans are quantum energy beings of light is not supported by mainstream science. This is true. Mainstream science for so many centuries said that the Earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around it. So let me tell you, science wasn't too smart. You know, you got to beat it over the head with a bone or with a brick or with a whatever. I'm trying to move past that. You know, we got a lot of things that we've been going on the planet that are just not useful. So I'm saying, let's leapfrog that. Instead of going and pointing out in detail all the horrible things that are going on the planet, skip it. Let's picture where we want to go and why we're doing it here, so that way we can evolve quicker and forget about the mishmash behind us. I will continue what he said there, because there's a punchline here, and if you're subtle, if you pay attention, you'll see the little jab he gives me. Evolutionary theory suggests that Homo erectus evolved into Homo sapiens through a gradual process of genetic changes over a long period of time. Makes sense, we understood that, but we're now in a photon belt, which accelerates everything. So therefore, if you take a look at what's happened in the last 150 years, 100 years, I mean, we weren't even flying basically 100 years ago. Now we're going to the moon, we're planning on going to the Mars. So things are speeding up, whether you realize it or not. Okay, then the last thing it says here, it is important to approach such ideas critically and to base our understanding of the world on well-established scientific evidence. Guess what? I'm not doing this on any scientific evidence, because there's so many people who have written all kinds of books. And I mean, you know, I don't have any books here on scientific evidence of why we're on the Earth. Everything is all geared to, we're not on the Earth as a bound consciousness. We're on the Earth for an evolved consciousness. Therefore, picture what you want. Homo galactus. Let's picture that. You know, why should we focus on wars and diseases and horrible things? They're here. We know it. Our car has gone through storms upon storms. And do we talk about the storms, or do we talk about how fast it can go and the paint job and how pretty it is and where we want to go tomorrow? We don't talk about where we've been and how horrible it's been. So that's my comment on the way of introduction.
Excellent. Okay.
Hey, I got one participating audience here. I could go anywhere now. It's two or more gather in the name of eternal consciousness, and bada bing, you can go everywhere you want.
And we got a party.
We got a party, baby. We got a party. Of
So,
course, it took me 81 years to get to this kind of level of awareness. But,
wow, that's amazing. I thought you were like 60.
oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
So thinking about your place in the universe will make you young.
Exactly.
There's a thought. Hey, you want to be young? Forget about the chemicals. Forget about this. Forget about that. Think youthful. Think expanded consciousness from Earth. Because let me tell you, everything on Earth, not that it's bad, because we have to balance one thing with another, but everything on Earth has a finality to it. But your eternal consciousness is eternal. There is no finality. You were created in the image and likeness of the Supreme Creator. And by the very fact that you have that as a seed core of life, then you're eternal, indestructible, and effectively able to understand all levels of consciousness. And the trick by being in this biological Earth vehicle is to meld the two, to take this density that we have grown to love so much and expand it so that we can also reach the higher awarenesses. And when you merge the two, then you got the best of all worlds. As the song goes, show me the way to get out of this world. That's where everything is. Well, there's a lot outside of this world. But if you're earthbound, then you can't sing that song because you don't want to see anything outside of this world because it is no scientific evidence.
Yeah, I went to
Got carried away with that one, didn't I?
yeah. So I'm in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and I went to a raw vegan potluck yesterday, and we had an individual, we had a guest speaker, and the guest speaker, was kind of talking about how he goes into homes and helps to improve homes and protect the inhabitants of the homes from EMF waves and EMRs. And but he started out with something very synonymous of what you're talking about. He talked about reality and science, and he asked the audience, do you feel that they merge, they overlap, or do you feel that they're worlds apart? And it was just interesting because he started with that premise and then kind of went into the 5G and the AI and how all of these waves could be affecting us physically. So you mentioned that you actually tapped into the AI to ask some questions.
Yeah,
How
just
do you
did. I just read one.
Yeah, exactly. So because this is a hot topic right now, how do you feel that AI would impact the Homo galactus species?
Well, number one, it can't comprehend anything that it hasn't already digested. They have taken 600 million texts and passed it through this database regenerative. I don't know how they did it in the back, but they developed a front end which links various phrases and concepts. It's what they call, it's not tree structure, it's linked list connections. I don't know how they did it. I'm now studying Python to see how they might have done it. But anyway, how they did it, if it's not in something that's already been printed and published, it can't comprehend it. So I like AI as a tool for a writer sits there and he goes, what the heck am I going to do? Jeez, I don't know. And in the old days, you see the guy type five letters and then takes the paper and throws it on the floor. And at the end of the day, he's got 400 pages on the floor.
Right.
What AI can do, if you ask it the right kind of question in a right kind of way, then it'll help you get over the writer's block. It can't do EpiGalactus because it's not there. As a matter of fact, I did go and ask it my very first question, happened to have printed out for this event. You were leading a seminar on the subject, recognize that human consciousness isn't confined to an earth body. I figured I'd make it simple, something that knows consciousness. But the idea is that we're not confined to an earth body. And believe it or not, the very first thing it said here, I don't know if you can read this, but it says network error.
Wow.
Did I blow its mind already with a simple question like that? I can't believe it. But anyway, he says, but I can provide you with some information on the topic of consciousness beyond the human body. Whoa, I thought that was good. The idea that human consciousness is not confined to the physical body is a philosophical and spiritual concept that has been discussed for centuries.
Mm.
He said, but I can't help you with that. And I did go on and asked him if it provided that an outline, and it did, and so on and so forth. But it couldn't, it can't comprehend life outside of a body. He leaves that to other philosophers and spiritual minds. And that's why we're filling in the gap, because we take off where AI left off.
Now, when I was a child, I remember that I think I was maybe about 8, 9 years old. You would read me a bedtime story, and the bedtime stories that you had chosen for a certain period of time were the Back to Godhead, the Hare Krishna temple's publication. And I remember you pointing out, you know, there's a dude in the middle, and then there's all these people along the side, and you saying, see, now these are all the incarnations from the past, and these are all the incarnations in the future. And that always impacted me. And you said we are eternal. So if you had to, in very simple terms, describe to somebody that didn't believe that they were, or didn't know, weren't aware that they were the driver in a car, how would you describe our internal being, our being of light? Who are we? What are we?
Well, I've alluded to some of that already. The thought is that since you're created by a creator that we can't see, now that's the basic element right there. Do you believe in any creator or not? Some people don't believe in a creator. They don't believe that they were created by a biochemical interaction, blah, blah, blah. And then they go in deeper, you know, the fertilizing the egg and the ovum and all of that stuff. And that's it. That's what creation was. But you can make a body by cloning, but you can't put consciousness into that body. So we are distinct from robotoids, and we're distinct from cloned physical bodies. Saying that you could make a cloned body to a 20-year-old age or a 15, I don't know, some age, what kind of a consciousness does it have? It's usually kind of nothing. I mean, you can't program consciousness in that level. So by the very fact that we have consciousness says that we're alive, distinctly different from a robotoidic or cloned entity. And where we get the fact that we have a consciousness is from the creator, who is consciousness. And they say the supreme, those who believe in it, those who believe about creator, the creator is the supreme being that is everywhere present and powerful. Well, if you went to the beach and you lie down on the sand and the water came up, the water's everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. So let's make a similitude. The creator is like a fluid. We call that fluid, because it's not material, we call it consciousness. Consciousness says that we are able to be aware that we are alive. So, in addition to that, because we are part of this creation process, we are able to create. Now, if you take a look at mankind on the planet, we've created all kinds of stuff. As we said, 150 years ago, we went from outhouses to flush toilets and bidets. We're moving on, baby.
Exactly.
So that would be the first step. You have to reorient your belief system to the fact that you're part of the creation, and therefore you're unique and special. And in that process, since the creator is eternal and evolving through us, then we can do the same thing. And therefore, we're spirit beings inhabiting a body. And if you're a spirit being inhabiting a body, then you are not limited to planet Earth. Some religions say that we were there for the war in heaven. We were there for the conversation between Jesus Christ and Lucifer and Satan and that crew. Well, what have we done since then? Because those same people believe that nothing happened. We were in some sort of stasis, and then suddenly we, by a biological event, formed a body, and now that body we inhabited. They don't say how we inhabited, but by that chemical process, somehow we got sucked out of stasis and stuffed into that body. And that is the reason why you don't know anything when you're going on the planet. You can't even hold your water. You can't hold your feces. You can't even speak. You don't know nothing. You're a dumb nothing. Well, you could take the other point of view, is that you've been around the universal concepts since that war in heaven, and you have been to many different schools, excuse me, slip of the tongue there, many different schools, many different philosophies, many different incarnations here on Earth and in other planets, and you came with the ability to make this connection. In that case, you have a chance of melding what we are here in this density to your higher self. You can make that, and that is one of the reasons why you came. You don't have to do it. You can skip it, and then that's a whole other story. We'll cover that some other time. But if you can make that connection, which you should, which is what HomoGalactus is, we're making the connection, then it changes the whole perspective. You're not here as a visitor. You're here as a agent of consciousness, evolution, and change. And that's kind of where we're at. And if we took it from that point of view, then we would stop fighting amongst ourselves, because let's face it, we've been microdosing peace for the last 5,000 years. Enough microdosing already. Why don't we just stop everything? All right, hold on, hold the fort, time out. We're eternal beings. Let us now accept a higher consciousness.
And that we're all connected.
That we're all connected. Who's that? Somebody's out the door.
All right, so we took a little break here, but we are back. And I just made kind of a quick list of, being Rico's daughter, not really being fully aware of every single religion and philosophy that Rico has explored, because I think you had maybe 3,000 books at one time when you were moving from New Mexico to Texas?
Well, at least 1,000.
And I'm sure you had more over your lifetime. But what I recall witnessing growing up is that you were exposed to or researching, let's just see, I made a list here, astrology. We already talked about the Hare Krishna temple. There were the trainings, EST, Scientology, meditation and yoga, psychic phenomena and readings, and of course this includes reincarnation, out-of-body experiences with the Journeys Out of Body book and the Monroe Institute. I didn't know how to really term this, but it was the Galactic Federation, the Elijah group.
Oh yeah, Aurora and
Michael.
yeah, they were the Galactic Galactic Federation, or at least they channeled the beings of the Galactic Federation. Yeah, they stayed in our house for a week.
Yeah, you all got into it, organic foods, holistic healing, JJ Hertech, and then channelers. You know, in the old days, it was Ramtha, right? And in more recent days, and I've checked these out with you, Lee Harris, Bashar, Cryon, Elizabeth April, Abraham, and then kind of blanketing this whole thing is research and even attendance throughout your life in the Catholic Church, Christianity, and the LDS Church. So my question is to summarize all the research and all the participation and all the learning you've done throughout your life and all these different channels, right? Like you've described a radio and tuning to different channels. How do you feel the culmination of your knowledge will impact the message that you hope to portray with HomoGalactus?
Well, I think everything that's happened prior to today has been prologue, and everybody learns at a different rate. And I think that everything that I've been through has finally penetrated the density that I had put in, the brick wall of earth consciousness around me, that if you couldn't put a scientific method to it, then it wasn't real. I knew that there were potentials out there that other people were talking about, but it was something that I personally experienced. I wasn't convinced. I was hopeful that we were more than just earthbound consciousness. So in a way, I was a seedling. I was a seed inside my earth body, and it had to grow and sprout and take an effect that would allow me to come out of the soil, if you will, and fully embrace the concept of being a HomoGalactus entity, which is not bound to an earth body. So now, what would be the major milestones? Every one of the things that you mentioned were significant, and I would like to iterate which ones were specifically significant and which ones I spent time on.
And we can do that.
I was a Krishna consciousness person chanting the holy names. Now, I didn't cut my hair and walk around and beg at the airports, but I read back to Godhead. I absorbed the information. I read the Bhagavad Gita. I read a lot of the Srimad Bhagavatam because I was a follower of Bhaktivedanta Mahaprabhupada, and he was a Virgo, and I'm a Virgo. So I read a lot of the stuff, and I understood it, and I liked it, and I absorbed it for probably seriously for 5 years, I would think, until we moved to Albuquerque. Then I kind of got off of it because I didn't have that surrounding as we had in Los Angeles. Then Justin got sick, and I somehow was on a business trip, and I was looking for some spiritual concept, and I came up with, I saw a book that I had identified with immediately, and it was Sai Baba. And I was Sai Baba guy for about 10 years, chanted the names and went to the meetings. And that's the time I was in Phoenix for 20 years. So for 10 years of that, I was hanging out with the Sai Baba people.
And the SRM, right?
Self-Realization Fellowship with Yogananda.
SRF, yeah.
SRF, yeah, SRM. There's another guy. The M was Moreno. And we went to the meditations and sat there and meditated and yada, 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 and it was all good. And then in 1978, I got exposed to Hertech, JJ Hertech and the Keys of Enoch, which is Metatron. Metatron is the archangel in charge of electrons. But he's more than just electrons. He's Metatron. And he absorbed Hertech embodied him up into the higher consciousness and embedded all of their awareness into his consciousness. And he came back and wrote, and I keep it close to my, he wrote this book, The Keys of Enoch. And he also wrote, you probably can't be able to tell that because it reversed, but here Hertek said, and this was in 1978, may the holy language of light, the Chachma, or Logos Sophia in Greek, bless, wide, and prepare you to work directly with the B'nai Or and the B'nai Elohim. May the 144,000 ascended masters of the office of the Christ use your light, my light, and love to raise the consciousness of man in the preparation for the ascension. In the Yod He Vod He, may the Ea Asha Ea and the Soma Christu, I am that I am, and the Holy Christ be yours. Love, Jim. So I've been working on
That's classic.
So I've been working on that since 1979. So when I go to the meetings and I bring this book, because he tells you to bring the book, and they go, well, I've been involved with Hertek since 1975 and 1995, I mean, and tell me 2000 and so on. And they say, what about your book? And I go, hey, I'm not trying to, because I wasn't 100% with this guy all the time. But hey, 1978, and I got tabs.
And that it's like other people bringing their Bible to church, and you bring that to his conferences, right?
And then they see 1979 and go, did you write that yesterday? So Hertek was a very key catalyst for shifting my awareness from a created consciousness to actually a being of light that has chosen consciousness on various planes of existence. And he goes into a lot of detail. A lot of people won't even look at the book, but he's a trip, and I've been very serious with him for the last 10 years. As a matter of fact, Denise and I are going to go to the release
Easter conference.
To the Easter conference, and the topic, this one, is on wisdom. We are the wisdom. And I thought that was appropriate for not only the stage of consciousness that we're at, but for Denise and I to go together, because we're looking for wisdom. We're looking for what is the tangible, conscious dialogue, because we're upgrading the words. We're upgrading whatever words you heard in any religion and so on and so forth. They're all earthbound, and they're all related to, I'm a sinner, I should repent, God died for me. I mean, God dying. If God died, we're all gone. It doesn't make sense. But hey, I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying, let's change the vocabulary. Yes, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ for 30 years now, and a pretty active member, especially in Hawaii. We had a great ward, and it was like one big family, one big ohana. And the Book of Mormon was translated once from some strange language using the Urim and Thummim, which the Hebrew priests wear for helping them increase their consciousness and understand the meaning behind the words. I got distracted with that thing for a second, because it was like three ideas came to my head at the same time. He translated it once and formed the Book of Mormon. Now, it's a book, it's an idea to give you a catalyst for change. So I think it's great. It's a great spiritual 101. I do go to church. My wife especially, she likes to go to church. It's our social club. I like it, but I have ideas. Now, I felt a little weird because I'm here with my Japamala beads and my Metatron Bay, and they come out to the door over here, and because we had an ice storm, the trees are down. So here they are all in their not with their white shirt and tie, but they suddenly
Ah.
see me
And these are
with
the young missionaries?
trees.
Oh.
They see this, and you got any trees? And I'm like, I'm doing the first Homo Galactus YouTube thing, and you want me to chop a tree down? You know, I'm having a hard time keeping myself rectified here. That's what the pause was about. I had to go out and well, what kind of trees you want us to chop down? I had to go and show the trees. Anyway, but I'm back.
It's
And
symbolic. It's symbolic of truth, and
symbolic.
it's symbolic of growth.
Is
And it's
absolutely,
symbolic of taking down the old and growing the new.
and also symbolic of, because I call them joyous eternal saints united synergistically. And by them grouping together, we got 3 trucks out there and 4 saws and all of this stuff. They're cleaning up my yard while I'm here talking to you guys. I got a better deal than they did, but that's another story.
But we should let you go, though. I think this was a really good intro.
Did I answer your question? I'm not sure. I got kind of carried away there. But
I think your question will be continue to be answered in
continue to
subsequent
be answered.
sessions as we progress through this journey together.
Exactly.
And, I'd like to kind of highlight, like you highlighted a little Hertech today. I'd like to highlight, maybe some of the other philosophies as a topic, but more as you progress into this new Homo Galactus topic. I think that new things are going to come to you, and we're going to progress in new areas and new ideas to share with others and help us as well.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, and I totally agree 100% with what you said. But as a conclusion, why are we doing this now? Well, it turns out you absorb information, all right? There's an intake, and then you reach a point where you have to do an outflow, and it requires you, the universe requires you to outflow at some point in time. So if you're absorbing and internalizing and changing your consciousness to a certain degree, then you reach a point where you have to share that with others. Whether they believe you, I'm not trying to convince you of anything, but I share what I have because, the cup is kind of full. I want to unload a little bit out there. And also it gives me an opportunity for self-expression, for creativity, for solidifying, because I'm a Virgo, solidifying my thought process and having it come out my mouth so that I can hear it and do it. So, well, I never said anything like that before. And I'm looking at myself and going, gee whiz, is that the way I look? Boy, you're full of expression. So there's many more things that we have been exposed to since everything we mentioned that allows us now to be able to go and set a framework of why it would be possibly a good idea for you to envision your life with the idea that you are a driver in a car on the earth plane, and you also are a higher self driving your physical body. And that kind of similitude idea is a first level of where you can go from here. So
all right, love it. And maybe Homo Galactus, and this just kind of popped in my head. You mentioned Homo sapien, Homo erectus, right? Well, it goes the other way. And now that we're, our consciousness, as we've learned about and researched, that we're moving from a 3D to a 5D. Maybe that's where Homo sapiens are moving into a more Homo Galactus type of a 5D embodiment.
Yeah,
Just
and we're
throwing
trying
that out
to,
there.
and we're trying to put a roadmap for that. There's so many things: near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral projection, remote viewing, chanting mantras, yogas. I mean, there's so many things that are available to us now that 50 years ago or 100 years ago, I mean, if you knew that, they would put you in boiling oil, especially in the Inquisition. Think about this. The Inquisition went on heavy duty for 500 years. Can you imagine the suppressive consciousness that those people went through? Now, saying that we came here and incarnated several times during that 500 years, that whole thought was reinforced over and over and over again. So now here we are, and guess what? We're in a post-traumatic spiritual depression because we have PTSD. We've been suppressed and reprogrammed to a place that if it isn't scientific, you can't touch it, eat it, and see it, it
doesn't
didn't
exist.
I like to just say one thing. We only have one physical sense, and that is a sense of touch. All these other things are impinging on our body. We can feel them to a certain extent. The eyes, the ears, the nose, and the mouth are amplifiers of those frequencies that otherwise the biological Earth vehicle would not be able to function. If it was blind, it couldn't taste, we'd be Helen Kellers all over the place. So don't go saying scientific method of these five senses if it doesn't exist for these five senses. We only have one sense, and that's a sense of touch, and we have four other amplifiers that allow us to exist on the planet Earth. We want to go and talk about our spiritual selves that enable us to travel outside of the body and experience our potential without being restricted to a body consciousness.
And I think that suppression and restriction that you talked about for that period of time, I think in this era, we're just, like you said, our cup is overflowing. Now that there isn't that suppression of the ideas and expansive awareness, now it's just coming out everywhere. Like, I mean, this list that I just read off, I tried to start kind of chronologically of the, little seeds, of things that you started to, explore and learn about, 50 years ago. It's just expanded. And with the technological tools that we have available to us, we can just look on our phone at YouTube or look at YouTube or on the TV and just tap right into someone that's broadcasting their spiritual awareness and spiritual experience. So I think it's a great culmination of this time that the technology is available at a time when all of us probably have so many things to explore and share and talk about. So my 2 cents on this was, we could develop a website, you can write a book, but I think it'd be a great opportunity to have this platform available to just talk and see who out there might become enlightened or become interested or have a few laughs, right? Because you did also do stand-up comedy for a couple of years. And I think that there's that little hidden piece of you that would like to add some comic relief to your, and I love it. I think it's great. I mean, that's what YouTube is all about. It's about expressing yourself, self-expression in not just a public setting like a stage, but now you've got the whole globe at your fingertips.
I'm more of a storyteller, as you could tell. I there's a theme and a story, and then yes, I do accents and I do facial expressions and so on, but I'm more of a storyteller. And the story that we're telling is you are not a body. You are an eternal, evolving spirit. Get used to the idea. And the way the term Homo galactus came from was the advanced version of the concept of Homo erectus. Now, we all know about erectus, but how many people know about galactus? That's what we're here to talk about.
Yay. Well, thank you for your time. And I'm excited to see where this journey takes us and all of our listeners out there.
I want to thank you very much for being a catalyst for manifesting this, because this has been rattling around in my brain for a year or two. And I kept saying, yes, I'd like to do this. And yes, I'd like to do that. But, who wants to listen to me? But I went and had a wonderful eternal spirit who chose me as her father so that we could get together as her second Saturn return and my third Saturn return, which isn't here yet. I'm a quarter of 15 years before it. And she is now, why don't we go and publish that? And I go, hey, good. I got one person who wants to listen to me. Man, this is fantastic. Thank you so much, Denise.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I know that we go all the way back to Atlantis and that we've had many lifetimes together. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for choosing me again, and your mother, of course, but especially me, and getting to the place in your evolving experience to be able to want to even try this. We're not looking for likes. We're doing it because it's part of our creative outlet.
Well, every time we talked about doing this and I said, this is going to be fun, you'd come back with, it is fun.
It is
So
fun. Hey, I'm having a ball.
we're
Can't
gonna
you
have
tell?
fun. It is fun. We're
It
having
is
fun
fun.
now. So now we're in it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's cool. I really, the perfect day for that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. We'll have some fun chopping trees.
They're probably fun now.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.